Hey, I'm CDinky. Alrighty guys, in today's video, I've got my face cam on. What am I doing? I'm doing the Grounded 1.4 New Game Plus tier list. I've already made a tier list of the previous weapons in Grounded. Like, I rated tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s. I also did armor and stuff. I'm pretty certain, like, that tier list is still the same. Nothing's really changed with the other weapons besides these new ones that you see here on screen. So if I've seen my face is a bit odd, then you're clearly a new viewer because I've been having a bunch of face reveals on my face in a bunch of different videos, including some streams, so stay tuned for that. So let's go over the New Game Plus number 4 tier list, New Game Plus in general tier list, because you're going to get these weapons in New Game Plus, and then the infused weapons down here are going to be New Game Plus number 4. So starting off the bat, this is going to be off patch 1.4.2. At the current time of this recording, it's the 17th of May. These weapons and tier lists can change at any point in time, so let's just stop yapping and let's get into it. The Fresh Edge, the fresh version or minty version of the Sour Battle Axe. Infinite S tier. Chopper makes it extremely good, cutting down the enemy's defenses, and then I know that they've changed the mastery bonus on Chopper, so it doesn't give you full stamina back, but it's still pretty good with Chopper. The third hit combo, getting your attack speed up, is just insane. Just putting in so much damage, and the stun and damage on this thing is clearly insane. So it deserves to be an S tier, as a lot of the creatures in the yard are weak to fresh damage, so pure S. Now the Frosted Flake, I did enjoy this weapon when 1.4 first came out because it was the exact same as the Fresh Edge. But now it's got Stamina Surge, so after every third hit you get Stamina back. So you get rid of the attack speed and getting Stamina back, which I don't really think you need that much in New Game Plus. It's still a very solid weapon, but I'm going to chuck it in B tier. No, A tier. I'm still thinking it's A tier because you can get this in New Game Plus 1. It is just like it's a fresh battle axe with no attack speed. It's still extremely good, especially against the Mant, the infected ladybug, and all the infected creatures and some of the upper yard creatures, majority of them anyway. A tier, still a really solid weapon. Now here we have the Breath Slayer. This one I'm a bit iffy about. I don't like how chunky it is on the screen, because when you hold, like, half your screen is gone because of how thick the blade is. But it's been changed recently that it now has, I think it's, what's it called? Aftershock? Mint Aftershock. So after every third hit, you're going to do like the Mint Mace AoE and slow down enemies. That's pretty useful, especially on a bladed weapon. I'm gonna have to say S tier. Like, you get this in New Game Plus 1 as well. Having the Blade Master mutation to reduce the enemy's attack by 10%, I would believe, and also on every third hit you slow down their attacks. It's just insane. This weapon is now one of the best. I just really wish they slim it down a bit because it's still very chunky on my screen and I just don't like it. Next up we have the Fresh Cold Tana, and it's just like the Spice Gold Tana where it has a perfect block when you upgrade to level 6. It looks better than the Breath Slayer because it's skinny and slim, which is what I like. I don't like having my entire screen covered with the sword, but you get this in New Game 3, I believe. It's one of the last ones you get. Man, it's really hard. I want to chuck it in C tier. My gut feels C tier, but I'm going to say B tier probably, because just the Elemental Fresh is just so good in Grounded in general. But like, just the parry bonus on it isn't the best. But I mean, I'm going to chuck it in B tier. It's a solid weapon, but I wouldn't recommend making it. Actually, no, we'll chuck it in C tier. I think C tier is good. All right, next up we have the Spicy Edge. Blazing Edge. We had the Blazing Edge, that's what it's called. A tier. Better than the Frosted Edge, because a Frosted Flake, I should say. Really strong weapon. You're getting this in New Game 2, I would believe. Chopper, Spicy, goes really well against spiders. This is like the best spider destroyer. It's decent for the Hedge Broodmother. It's one of the best weapons to use against her. I think that's where it stops. Is it better than... Actually, I'm just thinking now. Is it better than the Frosted Flake? Because it's only good against spiders and nothing else that I'm thinking about. But it's good for the Hedge Broodmother. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to keep it on top of A for now because it's a really good infected Broodmother weapon. Or Hedge Broodmother, I should say. Now we have here the Spicy Flake. It's a decent weapon, but you can get the fresh... You get the Edge at... I'm going to chuck it in C tier. Better than the Cold Tana because it's a Battle Axe and Spicy. But actually, no. No, we'll chuck it down. Because you can make this weapon... And you can have the Spicy Flake and the Blazing Edge in the same New Game Plus. Why would you not go for this one instead of this one? C tier, just like the Frosted Flake, on every third hit, you get the stamina back. Yes, it's useful, but if you have the better option, just go for the better option, right? So we'll chuck it just below C tier, just behind the Cold Tana. Now, I don't know these names because there's just too many to think of, but we have the Spicy Mace. This one is the Finale Aftershock, so after every third hit, you're going to hit the enemy with a what is it called? A damage over time burn. So it's sort of like the Witter Wizard mutation when using the Spicy Staff. You get this in New Game Plus number 3. Yes, it's good, but I wouldn't recommend using this at all. because you got the Jalapeno, which for some reason isn't in here. So I gotta chuck the Jalapeno in for a second. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, you have the Jalapeno. The Jalapeno is so much better. I'm going to chuck it in C tier as well. Alright, so the Jalapeno is in. They changed this in the recent update. So now instead of having the Finale Aftershock where you do the spicy AoE, it now gives you Finale Fury, which is the attack speed bonus. You get this in New Game Plus number 1. I would say a solid B tier. I'm not a huge fan of clubs because clubs only work with Barbarian. And Barbarian in New Game Plus isn't the best because you can't perfect parry, and in New Game Plus you need to perfect parry or you're going to die. So because it got changed, it's going in B tier. It's not the best. It's a very decent weapon if you want to test out a spicy weapon, but if you want a different spicy weapon, just use the Spicy Coltana or even wait till New Game 2 to get the Spicy Flake or Blazing Edge. We have the Tingle Tongue. This is just like the Breath Slayer, but in the Sour variant. Sour has no resistance against any enemy in the entire game, so it's a good all-round weapon. I'm going to chuck it in B tier. I'm going to chuck it above the Jalapeno because, once again, it's just a good all-round weapon. If you can't be bothered changing your weapon for resistances, or just you want to spend all your upgrade resources on one weapon, it'd be any of the Sour weapons, of course, because enemies aren't resistant to them. But yeah, there's not much to say about it. Blade Master works well. The stun after every third hit, because it does a Sour stun, because the sour weapons I should say, have all of the best stun in the game, you're going to be stunning enemies a lot. And because I said that, I'm going to say it's better than the Frosted Flake because of that pure stun damage. Having stun in boss fights is just immaculate and all-rounded weapon once again. Now we have the Sour Katanga. I wasn't a huge fan of this when they introduced this in the PAX live stream. I'm going to have to chuck it below C tier, probably bottom of C tier. Actually, no, above. Just above the, I forgot this weapon was called, but just above the Spicy Mace. Perfect parrying and increased attack damage and perfect parry window on the third hit or after perfect blocking. It's good, but the Tingle Tongue is so much better. I just don't understand why you would go for this Sour Katanga, realistically. There's not much to say about it. Now we have the Sour Mace. This one does a Sour AoE shock after every hit, just like the spicy one as well. I'd probably put it in middle of bottom B tier, probably top of C tier. It's a decent weapon. Once again, it works with Barbarian, so it's pretty good against Director Schmechter, but that's where it stops there. Every third hit you get more stun, but it's already Sour, so the stun's already maxed out. I don't see a massive use in it. I kind of want to change my tier list up, but I'm pretty happy with where it stands right now. But it's only good against one enemy, which is, I'm like battling myself here. Okay, I'm going to change the tier list. I'm going to chuck the Spicy Flake up one, and then the Sour Mace down one. I think that's pretty decent. Okay, now we have the Pick-a-Maul, something like that. It's pretty much just like the Sour Mace, but this time, instead of having the AoE shock effect, you have the Finale Fury, which is better than the other mace, and you get this in New Game 3, I believe. So after every third hit, you get massive attack speed. Realistic, it's a hammer, and it only works with Director Schmechter and possibly the Assistant Manager. I don't see I'm not a huge fan of these mace weapons, as you can probably tell. But for Director Schmechter in New Game Plus, he's very difficult, and if you can crit stun him out of his, like, summoning his spiders and lasers and that, it's a pretty decent weapon. And for that, it's going to go in the bottom of B tier. I wouldn't waste all your resources upgrading one weapon just for one boss, because Director Schmechter isn't that hard anyways, unless you're going for, like, the infused spears in New Game 4. So bottom of B tier is pretty good. Now we have the Salt Chipper or Salt Picker. This is the only new salty weapon introduced into Grounded 1.4. It is a hammer. Funnily enough, they changed it. Instead of having Barbarian, it is now a hammer. So it's actually a pretty decent weapon when rocking a slow-mo build. It's got salty and busting. It's good against Black Ox Beetles. It's not good against the Wasp Queen. I mean, it's somewhat decent against the Wasp Queen and Mantis, but you got better weapons. I'm going to chuck it in the bottom of B tier because you can break upgrade rocks and milk molds with it, and you can break them faster, which is what I like. But I know people are complaining that you can't rock a torch with it. I don't see a massive issue with that. And on every third hit, you get Finale Bleed. The Bleed is okay. It doesn't scale in New Game Plus. And you get this in like New Game Plus 3 as well. So it's like the final weapon you're going to get in New Game Plus. And the enemies are going to be pretty hard already. So I'm pretty solid with bottom B tier here. Now we have the Burgle Flipper. They have changed this to be 50,000 raw signs in Burgle Shop. And it comes with 2 random effects like the infused weapons, and you can get this in New Game Plus number 1. Is this weapon good? Yes, but no. You get Victory Feast after every kill, which reduces or increases your hunger or something like that. You get hunger back after a kill, but this weapon is so RNG dependent that you need to spend 50k raw signs after 50k raw signs, or even save scum to get 2 random good effects on this weapon. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm going to say bottom of C tier. I don't like spending the raw signs. I don't like RNG in this game. I know there's a bunch of it in New Game Plus, but this weapon just sucks. It works with mad scientists, but still, it kind of sucks. I like how we've got like a little slope going here. That's a bit funny. Now the Fungear or Fungear, you get this in New Game Plus at least number 1. or you can get it in New Game Plus 1. So it's a New Game Plus weapon. It's a spear. It does more damage than any other spear in the game. But if you're using it for its entire effect of the Finale Aftershock or the Finale Explosion, I've made a video on it already and it sucks. So based off what I've seen with the weapon, instant D tier. Do not ever use this weapon if you're wanting to use it for the explosive attack after every charged hit. It just sucks. I can't say anything more. We have the Ant Queen Staff. This is a very expensive weapon to craft as well, and it does not work with Bitter Wizard. I think you just shoot acid, but Spicy Staff already shoots acid, which does a burn if you have Bitter Wizard equipped. So I'm going to say it's a D tier weapon. It's very expensive, New Game Plus exclusive, and there is no extra effect. You can't even reduce enemies' armor or defense when I've been using this weapon, from what I've tested anyway. I could be wrong, but it is worse than the Fungia for sure. I just don't see a massive use with this weapon. And we have the Ant Queen Scepter. This increases, I think, increases summons HP, and if you chuck it down the mighty path to get increased attack speed. So it's sort of good when using summoning builds, but it's not the best. I'm gonna chuck it in C tier at least. I'm not a huge fan of this weapon. Probably no, it's bottom of C tier. It's not the best weapon. You might as well use a dagger. But this increased summon HP is good, but your summon's going to die pretty quick in New Game Plus. But if you're using the Thorns build, there's no real point using this regardless, because the Thorns damage is just got to scale to the roof. The bottom of C tier for this weapon. Okay, now we have all of the infused weapons. Don't get mixed up with the Termite Axe being infused. This can be the Pebbler Axe, the Insect Axe. I'm just choosing the tier 3s for the infused weapons. Now, the infused axe works with Chopper and it has 2 random effects. Now, if we're going after a perfect world, if we're getting god rolls on these weapons, the Termite Axe, I want to say in the middle of B tier. It's not the best weapon because it's one-handed. Doesn't have much damage, but it's decent. I know you're going to spend a long time farming for this, but it's a decent weapon with Chopper. But then again, just the battle axe is so much better than the infused axe. I'm sorry. Then we have the infused hammers. You get this from the Mant. You only kill the Mant once, and he's always spawns in at the start of the game, so you can't really keep save scumming his loot drops. So I'm not a huge fan of the hammers. They kind of suck, not gonna lie. Probably top of D tier. The hammers just attack way too slow in New Game Plus, and needing this in New Game 4, you need a bunch of damage and you need to hit fast or you're going to die. The Black Ox Hammer hits heavy somewhat, but is very, very slow. So just bottom of the barrel, D tier weapon. The infused swords, you get this from the infected Broodmother in New Game Plus 4. It's a very hard weapon to get because the infected Broodmother in New Game Plus 4 is very difficult. But I would say it is a very solid weapon. It's going to be top of A tier. And it's not going to be better than the Spicy Battle Axe because, once again, you need the god rolls on it. It is a very decent weapon. It works with Blade Master, and it's very good against the infected Broodmother. If you want a soul infected Broodmother weapon with fresh damage up best and whatnot, it is very decent, and it's going to sit at the top of A tier. Now we have the daggers. The daggers kind of got nerfed. These are from the Hedge Broodmother in New Game 4. You kind of lose out on the poison hit when it comes to the daggers because it comes like the poison is getting overwritten by the the modifiers. So you're kind of losing your point of using daggers. I'm not a huge fan of them. I'm going to chuck them in D tier as well. They don't work with the 3rd hit combo, and they're just very weak. And especially in New Game Plus, the bosses have too much HP. And just a weak, fast-hitting weapon. It's probably only good for summons, but just a pure damage, it's not the best. Now we have the spears. You get this from Director Schmechter, I believe. Spears are pretty good, especially if you want the crit damage up best, or boss damage, or elemental damage, and chuck this with Javelineer and just throw them. It is going to deal a bunch of damage. I've made a video on this already. Definitely top of B tier. Throwing spears in the game is just completely broken, and having an infused one makes it even better. So top of B tier, I'm pretty happy with that placement. Now we have the crossbows from the Wasp Queen. The crossbows they're sort of difficult to rank because so many elemental things. It's very odd because you can chuck in different arrows and make the weapon better. But I'm not a huge fan of the crossbow or the bows in general, to be completely honest. But I'm going to say probably middle of B tier. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of the crossbows. It's very hard to get a good crossbow like modifier if you get like bow damage up best and whatnot. So probably middle of B tier is where it's at. Now we have here the bows, the string bows that you get from the Wasp Queen as well. Once again, I'm not a huge fan of it. Probably I would say it's worse than the Black Ops crossbow because the crossbows hit hard and slow, and then the bows hit fast and weak. So I'm going to chuck them at the bottom of B tier. I'm not a huge fan of the bows, as like I said like a million times. Now we have the infused boss weapons. These weapons, for some reason, do not work with Apex Predator, which is a bit odd, besides the Moldy Blaster. For some reason, I find that really odd. But I would have to say with the Wasp Queen bow, if this works with Bard's bow, if this video is, they make it that these weapons work with Bard's bow, or like the Apex Predator, these boss weapons would be instantly S tier, all of them. Pretty much all of them would be S tier because they are all very unique with the Apex Predator, and with the 2 random modifiers, it's just super well done. But right now, once again, the Bard's Bow, it's gonna have to sit in the bottom B tier. It's just like a normal bow, but just looks like the Bard's Bow. I'm sorry. The Mantis Scythe, I'm not a huge fan of this weapon. I'm going to be completely honest. You're rocking a glass cannon build in New Game Plus, and glass cannons are sort of what you need to do, but like you need some sort of defense. I want to say top of C tier. I'm not a huge fan of this because I think you lose out on its slashing effect, or its yoked blows, I think it is. Especially if you want to upgrade this down a different elemental path, you're losing at least something. I think you're losing the slashing effect on it. You lose something. I just can't remember. I can't put my finger on it. So I'm going to say top of C tier. It's an okay New Game Plus weapon, but there are definitely better weapons. And with the Moldy Blaster, once again, it's only really good against the like farming molars that are underwater in New Game Plus. I wouldn't recommend rocking this like as an all-round build, so I'm going to chuck it in the top of C tier. One, you got to kill the infected Brewbell in New Game 4. It's very difficult to find, and you need the 2 random modifiers on this weapon. And this weapon only goes down mighty, I believe. So if you have elemental damage up best on it, that's just a complete waste. And I don't think even crit damage works on this. So I'm going to chuck it a little bit lower actually because of that. It's a very niche weapon, but it could be decent. I just haven't found anything yet. Now the infused Club of the Mother Demon, even though this does not work with the Apex Predator mutation, I would actually genuinely say this is the best weapon in the entire game, hands down. I've been using this thing salty since New Game 4, and I've been stomping every single boss, and I'm in New Game 10 by the way, and I've been stomping every single boss with it. I had Finale Goo on it. It's just an amazing all-round weapon, heavy hitting, fast hitting, and if you have the right trinket with it, it's just a really good weapon. It's also two-handed, so you're lightly losing your defense, but you're going to be making that up with the amount of damage you're going to deal. Okay, so I did forget to add in one extra weapon. It is the Great Swords. I'm pretty sure you can get this from the Infected Brewbella and the Mant. I might be dreaming that it comes from the Infected Brewbella, but it comes from the Mant nonetheless. It's a 2-handed bladed weapon. It works with Blade Master. It's sort of hard. It's like the Mantis Scythe. It's good, but it's not good at the same time. It's a 2-handed weapon. It's slow hitting. 2 random modifiers. It's good. I'm going to say probably top of C tier. And it's not the best weapon in the game, but is a decent weapon if you want to like have a temporary weapon for the Infected Broodmother possibly. I used this when I was versing the Infected Broodmother in New Game 5, I believe, and it did pretty well until I got myself the infused daggers, or the infused swords, I should say. So it is a pretty decent weapon, but don't hold on for too long. So that there is the end of the tier list. If you guys agree with me down in the comments down below, please make sure to let me know. If you disagree, you can disagree, dislike the video, comment down all you hate down below. I really don't care. This is all my opinion. And with all that said, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video.